Hey, how's everybody doing? It's James, otherwise known as the Skate Punk Lefty, back here with another video. I know it's been a while, but I actually have a real job and actual responsibility. So, since YouTube isn't paying me to do this, I have to do other stuff. Plus, I got other hobbies that I like to participate in. You can go, for instance, to my TikTok, which I'm gonna try to link somewhere on my channel, and I do debates there in normally hostile zones. I haven't hosted a lot yet, but anyway. So this video credit, first of all, the cutting of this video, that's 15 minutes and 4 seconds, goes to the channel Chris on Culture. I have to give this person 100% the credit for this video because I know I'm too lazy to cut and edit. This dude is actually a pretty smart guy. He cuts and edits and gives like light commentary to debates and news clippings of current events from a progressive perspective. Speaking of which, we have one of the best progressive debaters, Krystal, debating Tommy Lauren. Now, sometimes when I listen through this stuff at work to test it, to see if it's something I want to listen to or go over, sometimes at work I get mad, right? And it's a good thing I'm isolated in my work area, and I be like, not screaming loud, but I be talking to myself, not gonna lie, and I be like something, oh my god, this motherfucker is so stupid. Fuck this person. This person's an idiot. They're an asshole. And this is one of those videos because Tommy learned, not to spoil everything, is everything wrong with America today. Everything wrong with America, where we can't fix the system, but something has to be women or minorities' fault. We can never fix anything. Or if we see a problem with a certain system or subsystem, we just got to throw the whole thing away. But as Chris on Culture would say, and like he's about to say, since I'm playing it literally from 0000, let's get into this together and see what we can get out of it.
They're just fishermen. They're just farmers. It's bullshit, and you know it's bullshit. But what's weird to me,
it's really not, especially in California. That's the one I have the most information about, but I'm sure this applies to the rest of the country. People were literally getting arrested by ICE while gardening. So you telling me that motherfuckers are a part of Tren de Aragua and MS-13, right? They're doing all this gangbanging and shit, and then they show up on time to work to go to their gardening job. Sure.
is Democrats will go
I
out
don't.
of
It's
your
weird
way.
to me that you just accept whatever this administration says when they lie all the time.
Krystal of Breaking Points was a guest on Tomi Lahren's show to talk about a whole host of topics. They talked for about 48 minutes. You can watch the entire thing on Tomi Lahren's channel. I wanted to share a couple of clips that I thought were the most interesting. So we're going to take a look at these clips of Krystal debating with MAGA commentator Tomi Lahren. I want to share my thoughts on this as well. Let's check it out together.
When Pam Bondi came out and said, "Yeah, I disagree."
When Trump came out and said the exact same thing and said, "You're not allowed to criticize me."
No, he did not say that.
Speech.
He never said that.
He
said, "We're cracking down on Antifa."
He did say that. And in fact, even if he didn't say that, there's been a concerted effort of how can I say, media consolidation that Tomi Lahren is literally a part of, where the people that praise or both sides problems in America or or people that praise Donald Trump are uplifted, and the people that criticize them are punched down. Literally, people like Joy Reid were fired. The View is being forced by its billionaire owner to stop criticizing Donald Trump. There's been a concerted effort in this country to silence people when it comes to free speech. I almost went over this other one, which Chris on Culture covered with Kat Abu Ghazala on, I'm gonna try because I'm not a racist. Yeah, Kat Abu Ghazala. I believe she's running for a congressional seat in Chicago, Illinois, ironically enough. And it's like it's like if you say anything negative about MAGA policies, right-wing policies, conservatism, you call out white supremacy, Israel, it's like, they're threatening to take people's like media licenses. They're throwing slap suits at news organizations for interviewing Democrat politicians in a positive light. Left wingers and the liberals, ironically enough, are given less time to speak when, you know, they're doing interviews or debates. So, yes, I believe, you know, in my opinion, if you want the skate punk lefty's opinion, yes, we're living in a period of censorship, and all the media corporations up to in the Trump administration with the threatening of the licensing thing is complicit in this cooling of free speech that we've experienced over this past year.
And domestic terrorists. Do you not?
You can look it up.
I guess I would ask you this: do you not think that Antifa and their tactics, which I've seen firsthand, do you not think Antifa and the things that they pull, particularly in places like Seattle and Portland, do you not see that as domestic terrorism?
We literally changed the subject so fucking quick. We went from censorship to domestic terrorism. Let's talk about domestic terrorism, Tommy Lahren. And, you know, the rest of your fucking, I'm not going to even go there with this bitch right now. But for real, let's talk about domestic terrorism. Most domestic extremist groups and domestic terror attacks are done by right-wing, white conservative men. Neo-Nazis, 3%ers. Look at the shit that happened at Waco. Look at the Oklahoma City bombing. Look at the Christchurch shooting, the one that happened in America with Dylan Roof. Look at the shit that happened in, I believe it was, I had it earlier, the one that happened in New York, the one that happened in Texas that Tim Pool was lying about, saying that the guy was Jewish, and all this other shit. What about a couple weeks ago here in Michigan? 2 weeks ago to be specific, where you had a MAGA loyalist go shoot up a church somewhere in Michigan. I can't remember, New Haven and Gaylord or whatever the fuck. But the point being is that we are living in, you know, as usual when Trump is in office, in a time of amplified right-wing violence. That's so bad to the point where the FBI studies that show that right-wing white supremacists, domestic extremists are the most active and in committing the most crimes and causing the most death was removed from the Department of Justice, which is another, if you ask me, cooling of free speech, where we can't talk about the basic fact that these white supremacist terrorists are attacking innocent people on the fucking daily. And then you want to sit up here and act like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say these people aren't violent. You have like militant left-wingers, but that's defensive violence. Why in the fuck should a group of gay college kids, black people, Hispanic immigrants, and even decent white people let neo-Nazis and white supremacists march on their streets, so then they can be hanging out at the bar towards the end of the day and beat the shit out of somebody or stab somebody? No fucking thank you. So that's why Antifa exists, is because we have this like weird paradigm, and even liberals will do this shit too, where they balloon up and act like there is some equivalence between left-wing defensive violence and right-wing aggression. There isn't, especially if you're colored.
I think crime is crime and should be dealt with as such.
Jesus,
but in the same way that I objected to the mass surveillance of the Bush administration and the expansion of the terror state apparatus that has occurred ever since then, I vociferously object to this attempt to use Palantir to surveil everything that all of us say for wrongthink. God forbid that we criticize Israel. God forbid that we criticize what ICE is doing. That's the regime.
You and your clipped on ass wig. No, you are agreeing with the censorship, because you are agreeing with the Trump administration. You're agreeing with the false notion that by surveilling people, they're cracking down on fake terrorism, right? So you, Tommy Lahren, are by extension anti-free speech.
That they're putting into place, Tommy. I mean, that's what they are trying to effectuate right now.
Well, I disagree with you on that point, but I don't agree with
they were the lowest hanging fruit. Yeah, they were the lowest hanging fruit, and now
these people do. Yes, the fuck she does. These people believe in mass surveillance, but only on the people that are their political detractors, leftists and liberals. Keep in mind that during the Biden administration, when that mass shooting happened in New York, where the dude had "I hate N-words" scrawled on his gun, and they had a bill where they're going to try to fund some of the departments, right, that crack down on domestic extremism, and Republicans voted against it because they knew that their constituents would be hurt worse because they are the motherfuckers talking about fighting a war against the U.S. government because segregation is over and they saw a black guy driving a nice car.
Now it's coming for American citizens who also, by the way, are being caught up in these immigration raids as well.
Yep.
So this isn't just staying with, the people you might be more comfortable with. This has huge impacts on all of us, and especially as people who make our living through our ability to speak and to say at times provocative things. Like, that's part of the job. And that's exactly what this administration is really trying to go after.
It's like I said earlier, this is going to be my last interruption. It's literally like, as a person on the very far left and I'm being listening to the news media and listening to how a lot of these debates and conversations are going and even participating in them on TikTok, it's like they're trying to force you to agree with them. And if you don't agree with them, they try to ruin your reputation, make you a pariah, or censor you if you're too smart to be spoken over, like Krystal here, who's independent media. But look at what happens to Joy Reid and what's happening to Mehdi Hassan. This is what they do to people that are smart enough, or even Sanders, right? This is what they do to people, or Crockett. They censor and slander everybody that speaks out against this regime.
Disagreeing with you.
Not that nobody won't be able to say anything, but that they have to think twice. I mean, you mentioned Google and YouTube, and then I'll shut up and let you say the next thing. But they just had to do some, multi-million-dollar settlement and basically pay tribute to the Trump administration because they want to make sure their deals can go through and they get their tax breaks or whatever it is that they want. That's what all of these companies are doing, and we are totally dependent on these big companies.
Yeah, we can infer by knowing that the Trump administration holds the ability to cancel out these deals or to cancel out these tax breaks. We are aware of that, and we are aware that the Donald Trump administration is weaponizing the government against companies and corporations that disagree with him, specifically referring to media corporations. This is why, the shit happened with Jimmy Kimmel. This is why the lawsuit happened with MSNBC. This is why so many liberal news pundits have to tiptoe and have been getting fired and relieved of their stations. It's because the Trump administration is waging a censorship war against its detractors, taking people to Mar-a-Lago to make deals to the Morning Joe, that son of a bitch. Oh, I don't hate him. Oh, I think his politics are bad, but you can have dinner with anybody. Bill Maher, Bill Maher, yeah, that jackass. So yes, that is what's happening. These media corporations, because they want those tax breaks, because they want these mergers or whatever to happen, which all should be fucking illegal anyway, under any presidency. But that's a whole nother conversation about the monopolization of media, which is something I completely dislike. But my main point to this is that you can easily introduce new information about the mergers and the tax breaks to then understand that the reason why they are censoring people is to get these deals to go through. It's fucking obvious what's going on.
Are saying that all this stuff is not that we have the companies that actually came out and said Biden administration pressured us to remove this and that, but you are
because y'all are getting I hate that. Look, I'm sorry, pause a lot. That's because some of the shit that y'all were posting was either inciting violence and making terrorists, or was gonna get somebody killed with y'all fucking COVID misinformation.
just assigning that to these companies because you believe
that was reported within Disney. No, that's not true. That was reported about the deliberations with regard to Jimmy Kimmel.
So why
they didn't actually have a problem with what he said.
Because all these Americans now, his ratings are back in the tank.
Because 1.7 million.
Yeah, now the ratings are back in the tank.
People canceled Disney Plus.
Yeah, the ratings are back in the tank. He got that great big boost, and then boom, his audience left.
Nobody watches TV any fucking way.
Again, and they will, and I'm all for him being on air.
Tommy,
I think he should be. I think he should fail on his own.
Watched Jimmy Kimmel in ages.
No
I don't know what he has to say.
Nobody is.
It's fine. Obviously, these are all dinosaur programs that are going to go away eventually. It's about the principle. I stood up where a lot of people during the Biden years that I have no ideological agreement with whatsoever, because it's the principle of protecting free speech, protecting the First Amendment, even the right to say things that are offensive to people, that are provocative, that are outrageous. And so if you have a government that is trying to weaponize all of their agencies to try to chill speech,
that's where you lose me.
The media.
I don't think that they're doing that. Now, I believe in free speech. I don't believe that Kimmel or Colbert were taken off the air because of President Trump. I don't believe you on that. But you're talking about speech, and I agree with you on speech.
It's not even just Donald Trump. It's, again, what I spoke about at the beginning of this video is right-wing media consolidation, which is a big topic.
Right. I believe you should be able to say provocative things. I think that there is a limit when it comes to credible threats. But outside of that, I'm more talking about, you mentioned the National Guard and the troops, and I asked you about Antifa. I'm talking about actions now. I'm not talking about words. I'm talking about actions. When Antifa goes out in the street and they light things on fire, or they're firebombing an ICE facility, things of that nature, do you not think that the National Guard might be helpful in deterring some of that violence?
No, because what y'all are trying to do is this is how fascism comes to a country, where hysteria about leftists, liberals, gay people, colored people, minorities, and immigrants, or even feminists, right? Y'all make pariahs out of people. Y'all make mountains out of fucking molehills, right? Because if we actually, because what they're actually trying to do is normalize the military occupation of the inner city areas where most people disagree with them live at. That's the point of this, and ICE and protests and all that is just a pretext to that normalization. So the military is on every corner in the inner cities of this country, because that's where the people that Tomi Lahren dislikes live at. And that's what that's about. Number two, you could just hire more local police officers. Maybe if Trump actually had some sort of initiative to hire more municipal, local city police officers, people would agree with that. We don't need the fucking military of any kind crawling the streets of America, abusing American citizens, the people that they are supposed to fucking protect, especially considering the fact in a lot of blue cities, crime is down. So there's no need for these motherfuckers to be here. But again, this is about using, one-off scenarios about something bad happened, like some shit that's never happened before. Like, oh, somebody set a car on fire, and then they'll show the same car on fire for 2 fucking weeks straight, talking about this is why we need the National Guard. And hey, may I take you back to my point earlier about how most domestic extremist deaths, right, that cause deaths are done by the far right. Literally the same day Charlie Kirk was killed, some little neo-Nazi shithead shot up a school and killed 2 people. Recently, a fucking baseball streamer that was a fan of Charlie Kirk ran 2 people over, so which is terrorism. Because in his stream he said, oh, I'm gonna order a pizza and send it to their address. Being a fucking stalker. He's been stalking them for years. Obviously, this incel fuckwit. That's a whole nother video right there. Point being is that when we look at events, right, that cause death, not property damage, I'm talking about death, that are taking people away from people, things that can't be replaced, human life, is white supremacist terrorism every time. Takes the fucking cake. So if we're going to send the National Guards places, we need to start fucking sending them to these Boogaloo Boy camps and to the 3%ers and shit, and to these fucking neo-Nazi and Klan chapters all over fucking cities and shit. I mean, not cities, but these backwater states that nobody pay attention to so happily.
Not just to protect the federal agents, but also the federal buildings. And I don't know, maybe make the area a little bit safer for the businesses and others that are operating in that vicinity to be able to carry about their daily business without being antagonized by freaks who consider themselves to be Antifa warriors.
What the fuck is she talking about? This is the language of some Barbie bimbo dusty white bitch who has never walked around in a city without armed security guards. Like, fucking literally. Dude, Both when I participated and didn't participate in protests, I see these people all the fucking time, right? Because sometimes I'm out skateboarding and there might be a protest. Maybe it was Black Lives Matter, maybe it was the Israel stuff, but you know, motherfuckers, you know, in any inner city protest, even here. So what these people do is they might hand you a pamphlet or they walk past you like you're not there. And if you don't mess with them, they don't mess with you. So I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. And don't get me wrong, some of these people are like fighters and very militant. And some of the people are just very caring people who are just using their voice and are just out there, right? You have a mix of people, but technically everybody's just out there using their voice because nobody's fighting anybody. This shit is never happening, right? And I'm sure other people in other cities can correlate to what I'm saying. Like, you know, New York, Boston, you know, places in Miami, Los Angeles. Whenever far left people are protesting about something, they don't hurt no fucking body. They either give you a pamphlet or they walk past you.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about Antifa. Antifa, as you know, just stands for anti-fascist. I think we should all be anti-fascist. I would suspect that you would view yourself as also being anti-fascist. So Antifa as this, like...
I didn't hear a yes or no. Well, don't even give them the fucking middle ground. You should have just asked her that and then seen if she would say yes or no. No, Tommy is a white supremacist. That's why, you know, this whole fucking thing. Oh, you're anti-Antifa. No, you're just a fucking fascist.
Well-organized, well-oiled machine thing is a right-wing fantasy made up and invented out of whole cloth. So let's just put that out there.
I'm so glad that Crystal Ball points this out to Tommy Lahren. Antifa is one of the biggest boogeymen of the right wing and of MAGA and of Republicans. I always say, you know, to right wing people, is there an Antifa person under your bed right now or hiding in your closet? You know, I mean, like she said, it's a right wing fantasy. I've never met an quote unquote Antifa person. Like she said, we should all be anti-fascist, but an actual Antifa member, these dangerous people that Tommy Lahren and these other MAGA types think are out there in large numbers. You know, they're probably just waiting on the corner of your street right now, ready to attack you. I mean, it's just nonsense. But of course, we had actual terrorists on January 6th, people who tried to overthrow the government. But Tommy Lahren and MAGA and Donald Trump, all to them, they're patriots. And in fact, Donald Trump pardoned them. And they're viewed as A-OK with MAGA, with Tommy Lahren and others. And to the Jimmy Kimmel point, like Crystal Ball says here, you know, she doesn't really care about Jimmy Kimmel himself, and this isn't about one person. And I love that all the MAGA types, they're always saying, like Tommy Lahren says here, well, you know, his ratings are terrible and nobody was watching. And they always say he's not funny, which obviously is an opinion. I don't care about these shows. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel personally, but what none of MAGA, what Tommy Lahren and all the rest never want to think about is what if we had a left-wing government in place that really wanted to silence speech? Now they claim that Joe Biden, you know, was doing all this stuff to silence speech. He wasn't trying to get Fox News people taken off the air. Joe Biden wasn't trying to silence Jesse Waters or Greg.
And keep in mind, you know, while Chris is saying all this, keep in mind they were spreading vax misinformation. And a lot of that shit actively and actually got people killed. And with RFK and his misinformation is getting people killed now. And that's why Joe Biden said something about it. Because he's trying to fucking save people from these anti-intellectual jackasses that are trying to find something to hang on to.
Gutfeld or these others on Fox News with all the horrible things that they say.
And ironically enough, even outside of the vaccine misinformation, there's legit reasoning, especially with the fairness doctrine. If they was to bring that back, none of these people can have news programs. Because, you know, and that's a whole nother conversation. But like I said, none of these people should be able to have news programs because they're not real news. And it's like, this is what they do, right? So let me give you something that they do. So look. So you remember a couple weeks ago, right? That schizophrenic black guy killed that white Ukrainian woman on the train, right? So they will take that situation and use that as a racist justification for the persecution of black people, specifically black men. But what they won't tell racist white people is that 80% of crimes committed against a white person is by, guess what? Another white person. And that's the problem with Gutfield or Jesse Waters or any of these other fucking dirtbags, bro. On any subject, race, sexuality, gender dynamics, economics, they don't ever tell the truth about any fucking thing. Everything is narrativized with a lot of virtue signaling and misrepresented. And that's why none of these pundits or none of these program channels, because there shouldn't be a One American News, there shouldn't be a Newsmax, there should not be a Fox News, because this is not about news programming and differing opinion about tax policy. This is about hatred in an information war to make our country a stupider and worse place. Idiocracy style.
No, because the left-wingers don't do that. Progressives don't do that. But Tommy Lahren never thinks about the fact that what if a left-wing government would silence her and say, hey, our government, the FCC or whatever agency, is going to go after your speech.
It'd be way better arguments. All right, let's see what else we can get out of it.
Etc. It's not something to be terrified of. In any case, local law enforcement can handle it. The situation here is that you have the Trump coming in and wanting to make a show of force. This is not about dealing with crime. In fact, drug trafficking, probably something you care about. Those convictions are way down under the Trump administration. Why? Because they're all focused on like raiding Home Depots rather than going after actual criminals. So
yes, they are. This can be proven by when the guy asked Kash Patel in that interview. Remember when the one where he got up to the mic and he was talking about some prisons and he was acting like a bitch the whole time? Then again, what conservative doesn't act like bitch? But so basically, a lot of people that work in the Department of Homeland Security and its subsidiary agencies and the FBI or Homeland Security in general are now specifically been tasked with working with ICE to get more people to deport. So people that did things like SMEX crimes against children, terrorism, especially right-wing and neo-Nazi terrorist groups, all these people, if not fired, have been reassigned to track immigrants. So all the other violent crime, terrorism, drug trafficking, and syndicates are not being tracked right now, especially if they're far-right or apolitical.
Blowing them out of the water too, Krystal.
This administration has been a failure. No, what they're actually blowing out of the water is random innocent fishermen, which is another reason why this administration is completely out of control.
Do you have facts for that? When they're blowing up these drug cartel boats?
Yes, I do. Fishermen? Actually, at least one of these boats. Okay, first of all, wildly illegal under international law, even if it is drug traffickers. That's number one.
Because it's not a fucking warship. Like, that's so fucking unethical to blow up. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand seizing, but blowing up, killing, because these are not enemy combatants, they're criminals, right? And I feel like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't kill criminals, specifically if they're shooting at you, but if these are criminals and not enemy combatants, they should be arrested, not killed. So that's simply unethical, and it sounds like something that would be against international law. You killing people for drug smuggling.
Number two, very few of the drugs that come into this country, which mostly are trafficked in by American citizens, by the way, come
white ones, by the way,
from Venezuela. Number three, reporters found the widowed wife of one of the fishermen who was blown up. Okay, so I don't know why you just accept uncritically. Are these the same kind of people? Hold on. Why do you just accept uncritically what this administration says at every turn? Like, don't you?
All right, that's enough of that shit. And I'm just gonna give my thoughts. Yeah, I'm gonna try to link this video, but remember, video credit for cutting this goes to Krystal Culture. You can see his name right here. But to wrap up how I feel and the things that I think about this debate so far, and remembering why it made me so mad at work, is that Tommy Lahren is everything that's wrong with America today. Everything that's wrong with America today. So in America today, we got these demented, anti-intellectual, bimbo, dipshit white supremacists running the narrative in our country, and it's causing our country to become stupider and poorer. And it's like every single problem in our country does not need to be solved through hatred or misrepresentation of the problem to completely gut a system. We can fix our system to make it more equitable and better for everybody, and not blame things on immigrants and not use a fucking hammer in every situation. Like bringing a National Guard into, these locales to so-called fight crimes. There's other ways to do this, and these people are aware of that, but they are just demonic fascists. So we get what we get. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.